Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. Stocks 101, Stocks Explained to Beginner. This week, episode 22, 401k Goldmine rollover. Website is makestocksfun.com. If you want a transcript of today's seminar, please check out makestocksfun.com. Quote of the week, lack of money is the root of all evil. Mark Twain. Funny with money quote, the best way to teach your kids about taxes is by eating 30% of their ice cream. Bill Murray. I appreciate everyone being here and spending time on respective development. I know you want to learn and generate wealth and retirement income via the stock market. My name is Brian Reich. I'm a successful stock investor, and my goal is to be a stock millionaire. In these sessions, I want to pass on my knowledge of wins and losses so you can enjoy the success I've had today. Last week's episode, Predicting the Markets, was very entertaining as we went into the history of the Dow Jones for the last 10 years. What I find useful is to go back in history of the stock market and ask myself, what could I have done to improve my financial situation today? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Lots of content during last week's show. If you missed that, I highly recommend you check it out. A lot of people have left their 401k behind and aren't sure how to pursue, and that's why this week's episode is vital. U.S. workers have left behind 29 million accounts and over 1.65 trillion in assets. Why do people work hard for a living and not value their money? Anyone have a comment why? I mean, this number is just staggering high, right? I mean,
I think some people just forget what they have. And that they don't roll it over, they don't collect it at retirement.
they don't roll it over and they let it sit. Sometimes their spouse is deceased and they just, for whatever reason, just let it go. So it just never gets carried over to the heirs. But a lot of it has to do with, just letting it sit in an old job.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind on like a superficial level might just be that they feel that it's too complicated. I mean, might involve too much paperwork, or it's just kind of overwhelming to think about the process that goes into doing something like that.
Okay. Maybe
Not
that.
as easy.
Yeah. Maybe they ignored it to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But
Right.
I don't want to sound negative or anything.
No, it's quite fine. The reason why we're doing these episodes is so we can observe the problems and correct them. Obviously, this is a big one with 1.65 million, or trillion rather, on the sideline. So, it's time for people to become more aware of 401k. If people don't know my backstory, this is how I started in the stock market. I became successful through my 401k. And I feel like I was like everybody else out there where I got a quarterly report and just threw it in the trash. And if it wasn't for that coworker that came by my desk and said, "Hey buddy, what are you doing with that?" I looked at him like, "What do you mean? That this is where I recycle my my papers or something like that, And then he's like, "No, that's not what I meant. What funds are you involved in inside your 401k?" And I said, I again just shrugged my shoulders. I didn't think there was an option, so everything he was asking, I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and gave kind of like an innocent grin, like I didn't know how to respond. And then he said, "Why don't you just come to my desk? Let's spend a few minutes and go over some things." And then he showed me he was getting 40% return on some of his funds. This was in 2004. So it was, the time of the market, everything was just going up. And that's when it dawned on me that, I needed to make some changes myself. And they weren't easy. It wasn't like just clicking a box here and there. I had to go to HR. I had to get a special password key and that way, but, he stayed on top of it and made sure, a couple steps were done. And, within, I want to say like a couple weeks, I got access to the funds that he had access to as well. So I just want to know like what you guys are experiencing out there. Is it the same with you guys?
Well, I was um, looking into some index funds, and there was this one that I particularly had interest in. And I just, I never got into 401k or anything, so I started investigating with the job I have now, and it turns out that they offered a Roth 401k, and that was one of the mutual funds you could pick. So I jumped right on and I maxed out their match, and I'm contributing a little more than that.
Awesome.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, congratulations. Why did you go through that process? Was it an article you read or like a YouTube video you checked out?
Well, it's funny you ask because I bank with Capital One, and they actually have. I think you can do it even if you're not a Capital One customer. They'll give you. They do. It's not like financial advising, but it's like a money evaluation, and they go over. It's like more like psychology. And so at the end of the 30 minutes, he said, one thing I want you to do is look more into what your job offers for benefits. So I took his advice and worked out well.
Wow.
Which fund did you choose?
I'm sorry?
FXAIX.
Thank you.
What were the call letters again?
FXAIX.
Oh, okay. Is that a Fidelity?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, they have good funds.
Yeah, S&P 500.
Wait.
Sorry.
No problem. I'm sorry.
What were you saying?
I got in a little bit late. I apologize. Take it from an older guy. Get in your company's 401k and go with an index fund and check out the fees they have. Index funds normally will be less than managed funds. And I'll tell you, if you can, get into a Roth. I'm at the age where I'm retired. I've worked 35 years in one company, and I've got an awful lot of money in my 401k. I'm doing the, the Roth conversion right now, because when I have to take my money out of my IRA, that's going to boost my income up. I'm going to be taxed to the hilt. So I'll tell you, anything you can do to get into a Roth will benefit you. Or if you get into the IRA or the Roth IRA, at least get the company's match.
Yes, that would be my advice for you guys too. Make sure you understand what the company match is. It can fluctuate year to year. Now we're probably diving here in a recession. Employers, look to cut the bottom line all the time. So it's beneficial for you guys to always look at what the match is that they're offering, because this is free money, by the way. And a lot of times, instead of giving you a Christmas bonus or a promotion, things like this, they're adding on to your 401k and that rewarding you for taking advantage of 401k. So you might have 3%, they might match 3%, and for me, it was like a 2% bonus on top of that.
Definitely.
But,
if you put in, for example, you put in 6%, the company will match with 3%. That's what it is. At least go to the company match. I tell you, it's an excellent way to do it, because you're dollar cost averaging. Every time you get paid, money goes into your account. If the price is high, you get less shares. If the price is low, you get more shares. It's an excellent way to put money away.
Yeah, and I highly recommend that to you. And it was such a benefit to me, because I learned about the stock market and what to do throughout the periods of time through my 401k. I went through 9/11, the dot-com crash. I went through the bank episode. And all through those times, I realized this is the time you have to load up and take advantage of it. And not only did I meet the match requirements, I just did what the law actually required me to do, which I believe this year is like 23 grand inside the retirement account. So I definitely recommend at least do like what David was saying, take advantage of the match, and then try to go beyond that and, get good at budgeting where you can feel free a little more to invest. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Awesome.
And if you can, try not to use an advisor unless you're leery of what's going on. An advisor will take your money.
Right.
Get into index funds are much lower fees.
That's
and
true.
Fidelity's good, Vanguard's good.
So basically, yeah, the DB to DC was a change in era. Does everyone know this terminology? What this means?
I'm not sure.
Honestly, no.
Okay, so DB is defined benefit to DC is defined contribution. So a lot of people in the 70s, you pretty much had a pension and the employer took care of you. You know, they set aside funds for you so you could, as a reward to sticking it out with the company actually wanted you there back in the 70s, more so than what it is now. It's kind of more roughneck. So basically the biggest change was the DC program, saving employers a lot of money. I mean, basically they passed the buck in a way, gave you the incentive to invest 401k. The problem with that is school doesn't teach you investing. And a lot of times you look on YouTube videos and books, and for myself, I wasn't finding the answers I needed. So, I had to go and do this stuff myself. Some of the books are helpful, but there was still a lot of questions I had to have answered for me to be successful in the way that I was here recently. And that's why, I want to start the seminar and get the education out there. And the 401k is a great starting point. It's something you're already having now inside your job or have via IRA. And these things, just help you out greatly in life. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and basically, the 401ks that get left behind, I just feel like it's a mistake because employers can have fees. They're like in times like this where they're hurting, they're looking to make up money. And how can they do it? Well, this is the way. Employers can have fees. Joe Smith might left the company. There's no reason to help him, right? So, they can get up to half legally or more, from my understanding. So employers can be bought out or go bankrupt. 401k administrators change all the time. And it's easy to do, guys. I mean, really, sometimes you just get an old email that you're registered with and you just give them an email, let them know your account and just say, I'm interested in rolling this over, and they should comply. If they don't, I just want to let you know I'm here for you guys, and I'll stand up with you guys and get that old 401k money rolled over to an IRA. And I just want to bring up some unfair things that I witnessed firsthand. So I wanted you to be aware of these and avoid them from happening in your lives. Back in 2009, my company changed, the company I worked for, they changed 401k administrators. Do you know why you think this was?
Because of the fees.
I'm sorry, because of the
fees.
No. 2009 was during the bank crisis,
Right.
and things crashed severely. And it was literally survival island at my job. Every week, people were just getting axed. I was one of the better employees with a better situation, so they kind of pulled me aside pretty much every week and just say, we're not going to let you go this week. But what did happen is they did change 401k administrator. I figured it out, did the math. I lost close to 25, 30 grand when they did that. And not including long-term benefits, because everyone should know by this point that we really want to enter the market in a down time. 2008, 2009, that's definitely a time to take advantage of low rates and opportunities that present themselves in the marketplace. And this was the exact time that coincidentally the administrators had changed, and it was a buddy of a controller that I worked for. So like David was bringing out, advisors, you really got to ask what's in it for them. I mean, that should be one of your first questions, because the law pretty much allows them to manipulate and take advantage of the system, unfortunately. And that's why I created this company, to help people. I like you to be aware of it. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to let you know what's out there so we can steer away from trouble. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, in the same year, I had a friend too, in the same time slot. And they had a guy going around kind of forcing their way, making employees sell out of stock funds, telling them that stocks were bad and you want to go into bonds. And you can't tell me that they didn't get a nice commission check at the end of the day, you know what I mean? This was a big company we're talking about. Maybe not hundreds of thousands of employees, but like tens of thousands. So the goal is to be aware of snake oil financial advisors. We want to question them, when they suggest certain funds. Maybe they do have valid, maybe they are heartful of your situation, but we just want to ask questions and really get to the bottom of what's in it for them. Do you feel like you're caught in a simulation where you see your world spinning around you? Like an endless maze, stuck on autopilot? Around, around you go. You are the pilot in this life. Enjoy the journey. Are you living the dream? Or trapped in a nightmare? Compound interest must be the eighth wonder of the world. $100 every 2 weeks, $200 every 2 weeks, $300 every 2 weeks. This is 10% over 10 years. 10 years, you can have $200,000. This is 14% at various time horizons, 10, 20, and 30 years. You could have $5.2 million in 30 years at 14%. And some of the funds I showed you in week 12 give you 30% and above. So this was kind of a follow-up, from week 12. It seemed like I did this recently, but yeah, it was 10 weeks ago. But I just wanted to show you guys the 10 funds, and these are over the 10 years. So if you have these inside your portfolio, you might want to look into them. The other thing I want to leave you with is smartasset.com, and it's a website that I highly recommend. And you can just whatever starting amount, and then you can put in however you want to contribute here. Like, so if you do quarterly, monthly, or what have you, you can just put in the amount, and then you can kind of play with the numbers so you can see where you are with retirement and kind of figure out what the return is that you're getting on your current fund, and then how many more years that you figure you have for retirement, or what you need, and you can kind of figure it out this way. Does that make sense? But by setting goals and being realistic in your expectations goes a long way. Would you agree?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it for today's episode. Just want to let you know that I'm on Instagram daily. I do vlogs twice a day, and you can keep up with me that way. Otherwise, I have my website. I do one-on-one consulting, working on your budget and things of that nature. Otherwise, I wish you well. I hope you have a great weekend, and it was a fun episode. Thank you.
Thank you. And the transcript will be available on the website?
Yeah, makestocksfun.com/blogs. And every week,
Okay.
when I get the video updated, then I just have the link in there, so it's all right at your fingertips.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Too.